This is Land of Havilah, Ezekiel 36. The chapter begins with a prophecy to the mountains of Israel. Verse 1. You, son of man, prophesy to the mountains of Israel, and say, You mountains of Israel, hear Yahweh's word. Thus says the Lord Yahweh, because the enemy has said against you, Aha, and the ancient high places are ours in possession, therefore prophesy and say, Thus says the Lord Yahweh, because they have made you desolate and swallowed you up on every side, that you might be a possession to the residue of the nations, and you are taken up in the lips of talkers and the evil report of the people. Therefore, you mountains of Israel, hear the word of the Lord Yahweh. Thus says the Lord Yahweh to the mountains and to the hills, to the watercourses and to the valleys, to the desolate wastes and to the cities that are forsaken, which have become a prey and derision to the residue of the nations that are all around. Therefore, thus says the Lord Yahweh, Surely in the fire of my jealousy I have spoken against the residue of the nations, and against all Edom that have appointed my land to themselves for a possession, with the joy of all their heart, with the despite of soul to cast it out for a prey. Comment in verses 1 to 5, the situation is that Nebuchadnezzar's armies have attacked Judah and have displaced the Jews either by killing them or taking them away captive. They're scattered among all the nations of the Babylonian kingdom, and they fled from the Babylonians to anywhere they could go. Therefore, the homeland is practically empty. In verse 1, Yahweh says, Ezekiel prophesied to the mountains of Israel. When he says mountains of Israel, he means to the land itself. He'll be speaking to the empty land. Of course, the land will not hear him, and the point is for men to overhear him. In verses 2 to 5, the enemy is claiming the land of Israel as their own. The enemy is everyone who's scheming to possess it, the nations on every side in verse 2. They're the residue of the nations in verse 4, meaning they're what's left of the surrounding nations, that small number of people who have escaped Nebuchadnezzar so far. And particularly they're the Edomites in verse 5. The Edomites have appointed the land to themselves with all joy of heart. All of them are saying in verse 2, the ancient high places are ours for possession, meaning the revered high places in Israel, which were used for worshiping foreign gods, they believe are theirs now. Therefore, Yahweh says in verses 4 and 5 to the empty land that he's jealous against the residue of the nations who are scheming to possess it. Therefore, he has spoken against them. What has he spoken? Verse 6. Therefore prophesy concerning the land of Israel, and tell the mountains, the hills, the watercourses, and the valleys, Thus says the Lord Yahweh, Behold, I have spoken in my jealousy and in my wrath, because you have borne the shame of the nations. Therefore thus says the Lord Yahweh, I have sworn, surely the nations that are around you will bear their shame. Comment in verses 5 and 6, Yahweh tells the land, the nations around you will bear their shame. He'll make them ashamed that they schemed to possess it. Now Yahweh will promise to correct the situation by bringing Israel back. This applies to Yahweh gathering Israel back to the land after the Babylonian captivity, and it applies to him gathering Israel to the land in the modern age, but mostly it applies to Yahweh gathering his heirs to the land for the millennium. Verse 8. But you, mountains of Israel, you shall shoot out your branches and yield your fruit to my people Israel, for they are at hand to come. For behold, I am for you and will come to you, and you will be tilled and sown. I will multiply men on you, all the house of Israel, even all of it. The cities will be inhabited, and the waste places will be built. I'll multiply man and animal on you. They will increase and be fruitful. I'll cause you to be inhabited as you were before, and you'll do better than at your beginnings. Then you will know that I am Yahweh. Yes, I'll cause men to walk on you, even my people Israel. They will possess you, and you will be their inheritance, and you'll never again bereave them of their children. Comment in verses 8 and 9, the land will once again shoot out its branches and yield its fruit to the people of Israel. They'll live on it, farm it, and produce crops. In verses 10 and 11, Yahweh will multiply the house of Israel in the land, man and animal. The land will be fruitful and inhabited just as before, and Yahweh's heirs will prosper there even more than in the beginning. In verse 12, the land will be their inheritance and will never again bereave his people of their children, which means Yahweh will put in the permanent fix. Now still speaking to the land, Yahweh goes on, verse 13, Thus says the Lord Yahweh, because they say to you, You are a devourer of men, and have been a bereaver of your nation, therefore you shall devour men no more, and not bereave your nation any more, says the Lord Yahweh. I won't let you hear the shame of the nations any more. You won't bear the reproach of the peoples any more, and you won't cause your nation to stumble any more, says the Lord Yahweh. Comment in verse 13, Yahweh hears how the nations talk about the land. They say it devours its inhabitants and has bereaved Israel from living there. Therefore, in verses 14 and 15, Yahweh will correct the situation. He tells the land it will devour no more, not bereave Israel any more, not suffer the reproach of being empty, and not cause Israel to stumble any more. Your narrator believes the ultimate fulfillment of this prophecy will be in the millennium. Now the start of another prophecy that Yahweh will gather his people to the land, same sort of prophecy, verse 16. Moreover, Yahweh's word came to me, saying, Son of man, when the house of Israel lived in their own land, they defiled it by their ways and by their deeds. Their way before me was as the uncleanness of a woman in her impurity. Therefore I poured out my wrath on them for the blood which they had poured out on the land, and because they had defiled it with their idols. I scattered them among the nations, and they were dispersed through the countries. I judged them according to their ways and according to their deeds. When they came to the nations where they went, they profaned my holy name, and that men said of them, These are Yahweh's people, and have left his land. But I had respect for my holy name, which the house of Israel had profaned among the nations where they went. Comment in verses 17 and 18, Israel defiled the land by their deeds, particularly by committing violence and worshiping idols. Therefore, in verses 18 and 19, God scattered them among the nations. In verse 20, they profaned Yahweh's holy name among the nations. The nations figured, These are the people of Yahweh. It was a terrible reflection on Yahweh that his people were captives and scattered. In verse 21, though Israel didn't respect his holy name, he respected it himself. Therefore he'll do this, verse 22. Therefore tell the house of Israel, Thus says the Lord Yahweh, I don't do this for your sake, house of Israel, but for my holy name, which you have profaned among the nations where you went. I will sanctify my great name, which has been profaned among the nations, which you have profaned among them. Then the nations will know that I am Yahweh, says the Lord Yahweh, when I am proven holy in you before their eyes. For I'll take you from among the nations and gather you out of all the countries and will bring you into your own land. I'll sprinkle clean water on you, and you'll be clean. I'll cleanse you from all your filthiness and from all your idols. I'll also give you a new heart, and I will put a new spirit within you. I'll take away the stony heart out of your flesh, and I'll give you a heart of flesh. I'll put my spirit within you and cause you to walk in my statutes. You'll keep my ordinances and do them. You'll dwell in the land that I gave your fathers. You'll be my people, and I'll be your God. I'll save you from all your uncleanness. I'll call for the grain and will multiply it, and lay no famine on you. I'll multiply the fruit of the tree and the increase of the field, that you may receive no more the reproach of famine among the nations. Comment in verses 22 to 30, Therefore, Israel, I'll do something for my own sake, not for your sake. I deserve this, but you do not. Since having you scattered profanes my name among the nations, I'll sanctify my name by placing you back on your own land. You don't deserve it, but I do. I'll sanctify you. You'll be clean. I'll give you a new heart and spirit. In the place of your heart of stone toward me, I'll give you a heart of flesh. You'll be tender toward me. I'll put my spirit in you and cause you to obey my ordinances. You'll dwell in the land that I gave to your forefathers. I'll save you from all your uncleanness. There will be plenty of grain and no famine, so that the nations will have no cause to insult you. This would all be fulfilled in a weak way when the Jews returned from the Babylonian captivity and in the return of the 20th century, but the ultimate and complete fulfillment will be the millennium. Jesus said over and over that the Scriptures must be fulfilled. Matthew 5:18, 26:54, Mark 14:49, Luke 21:22, and 24:44. The return from Babylonian captivity and the return in the 20th century do not fulfill the placing of the Spirit in Israel to serve Yahweh wholeheartedly, and so forth. So fulfillment is yet future. Would have to consider the ancient return from Babylon and the current return to be similitudes of the complete fulfillment, Hosea 12:10. When this prophecy comes to fruition, verse 31, then you'll remember your evil ways and your deeds that were not good, and you'll loathe yourselves in your own sight for your iniquities and for your abominations. I don't do this for your sake, says the Lord Yahweh. Let it be known to you, be ashamed and confounded for your ways, house of Israel. Thus says the Lord Yahweh, in the day that I cleanse you from all your iniquities, I'll cause the cities to be inhabited, and the waste places will be built. The land that was desolate will be tilled instead of being a desolation in the sight of all those who passed by. They will say, this land that was desolate has become like the Garden of Eden. The waste, desolate, and ruined cities are fortified and inhabited. Then the nations that are left around you will know that I, Yahweh, have built the ruined places and planted that which was desolate. I, Yahweh, have spoken it, and I will do it. Thus says the Lord Yahweh, for this, moreover, I'll be inquired of by the house of Israel, to do it for them. I'll increase them with men like a flock, as the flock for sacrifice, as the flock of Jerusalem in her appointed feasts, so the waste cities will be filled with flocks of men. Then they will know that I am Yahweh. Comment in verse 31, when Yahweh gathers Israel from the nations to the land and gives them a new heart to perform his statutes, they'll remember their history and loathe themselves for their former abominations. In verses 33 to 35, Yahweh will cause the cities and waste places to be rebuilt and fortified, the land to be farmed, and the desolate places to be like the Garden of Eden. In verse 36, the surrounding nations will know Yahweh was behind it. Yahweh has spoken it and will do it, he says. In verses 37 and 38, Israel will inquire of God that he might increase their population. God will answer by increasing them like a flock. The cities will be filled like Jerusalem used to be filled on a holy day. Exodus 23:14-17. It's the millennium. Ezekiel 37 is next.